From Dom's Premier Estate Agents. I'm Lushan. Today I'm here with Nicky from Power Band. Now, Nicky is a very experienced property manager, ex-property manager. You have so much experience, and now you're doing something a bit different.
Yeah.
You are checking minimum rental standards of the properties, and you are also checking the safety compliance. Let's talk about your business and a little bit about you, about your past experience as a property manager, collectively all these things.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and welcome everybody. And thanks for listening. So, Lushan and I decided that we wanted to pull some information together so it's more for you to be able to see. As Lushan said, 25 years in property management. 25 years in property management.
A long time.
Oh man,
it's a long time.
I feel like
a baby when I hear that because I'm only half a decade and more.
Yeah.
Jessica and myself, and I can understand this.
25 years, yeah. And it was not all up and wonderful because property management has its significant challenges. But where Power Band and the business and I came together was when I saw a huge need for property managers to be educated properly by somebody who had been in the industry and had done the safety checks and had been literally at the forefront trying to understand 2021 when the changes came in, and then in 2024 when we're going to have more with the energy efficiency changes, and then 2025 when we've got more changes coming in. So when I heard that all of these changes were coming in, I didn't leave property management. I left managing properties, and now I help property managers manage their portfolio and give them the adequate training that they need, but also give them a reliable safety check company where they can know and trust that we're going to do the right thing by them because it's legislated.
That's right.
We're not here to do the wrong thing. We're here to help. We're here to make life easy, and we're here to do what's legislated. So that's where it came in, and I love doing what I'm doing now.
That's right, because that's why when I first heard from you and when you had the meeting with us, I told Jessica, no, Nicky has a lot of experience as a property manager. So when we incorporate Nicky's business module to our company to service our rental providers, we know we are in good hands.
Yeah.
Because it's not like just somebody do this, safety compliance, they want to do it. You know what property management is and what we are going through.
Yes. Yeah. So quite literally designed everything from the reports to the way that our trades service the renters when they're at the property, to the way that they do their checks. But then also it's because of my experience in property management and my experience with urgent maintenance in particular, it's like, well, hang on, we've got a burst hot water service, so this is going to take precedence over a safety check. So you need to move that safety check up a day, down a day, a few hours, whatever it is, because this burst hot water service or this dead oven, that needs to be done within 48 hours. The safety check can wait a couple of days or a couple of hours. So I think it's knowing that you've got someone who's got your back and understands that we want to try to help you stay out of VCAT, and that is by following the legislation.
Absolutely. Sometimes some rental providers like, oh, when I say, look, there's a minimum rental standard, that is quite different to safety compliance because many rental providers do not understand the distinction between these two.
Yes.
They first think like, my property is compliant. It has all the safety. I'm like, that's right. But there is another thing called minimum rental standard. Have you got that? And then when I try to introduce you and they're like, oh, I want to suss out with, other cheaper option is there or not. I'm like, that's up to you. That the person I only recommend is from our company, Power Band.
Oh, thank
The
you.
reason, because you're an ex-property manager. You have been going through all the unsafety things has happened in past,
Yeah.
right? And when people were not compliant, you probably have a lot of experience what they had to
Lots.
face.
Yes.
And also you know the legal repercussions when you go to
Yes,
VCAT,
when you go to VCAT.
what they look for. So I said, it's up to you. You want to go that path, if you can Google or do whatever, but this is who we recommend. And most of our rental providers are very sensible and they understand, and that's why they
use us.
That's right.
And look how far we've come since last year to now. You know, it's such a big change to you, your company, and you know, hopefully the help that I've been able to give is paramount, because that's what I'm here. I'm only here to help. That's all I can. That's all I can do.
Because I'm big on doing the correct thing, irrespective to the price or anything like that. I look for quality. That's why I wanted to actually work with you. You know, we want to look for that quality service. Like, it's not about going, after cheap, because
You
cheap
get
sometimes
cheap.
has a reason.
So you're going to get terrible reports, poor service, and the job won't be done right. Your appliances won't be serviced properly.
That's right.
Checks won't be done properly. So what's the point? You're only going to end up in VCAT because nothing will be done properly, and the renters will complain.
And your certificates and your all the resources you so far sent us is very neat, very tidy. It clearly states what's wrong, what's not.
I've worked really hard on those, and my IT team hates me for it, but that's okay.
That's right. See, now when it comes to this, the first thing what government introduced was safety compliance. Am I correct?
Yes. So 2021, they introduced the gas, smoke, electrical, and minimum rental standards.
Oh, even in 2021?
In 2021, all of these were brought in. Yep, absolutely. So a property had to meet rental minimum standards. It had to have the gas, the electrical, and the smoke alarm check done as part of it. See, where everyone's fallen down, and not fallen down, that's the wrong word, but forgotten. Everyone's forgotten because the minimum rental standard check was never compulsory. It just had to meet rental minimum standards, and the owners had to sign a disclosure to say that it met minimum rental standards. And sometimes the owners hadn't seen the property for 5-10 years, and they have no idea if it meets with rental minimum standards. And this is where I've found, both as a property manager and then in the legislation or in the safety check industry, it's where I've found that now, especially with the legislation changing this year and everything having to meet minimum standards before it's advertised, I've personally found there was not enough information, there was not enough education for property managers on minimum rental standards.
That's right.
There wasn't a focus on it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm actually today trying to keep a huge focus towards this minimum rental standard.
Yep.
Because currently many property managers, rental providers, that they're aware about the safety compliance that need to be done, right? But many out there, when I even uttered these words, MRS, what is that?
What are you talking about?
What it is? Who has to do it? Is there a company to get that done? And how do they evaluate the property? Need this? So actually, what I just learned something from you, which is great. It was introduced in 2021, but it wasn't compulsory to have a test or pass or have a certificate back in the day. Just the owner had to say yes, just give a declaration saying yes, it means. How it has changed?
So the biggest way it's changed now, and don't get me wrong, an owner can still sign a disclosure believing that it meets rental minimum standards. They can still do that. But there are so many pitfalls and risks if they do. So what we're finding now is that because insurance has changed and the way that insurance looks at minimum rental standards, the insurance companies won't insure a property if it has failed any of the safety checks, including a minimum rental standard check, or if it's found that a property didn't meet with a smoke alarm or with the stairwell being, the rail being loose or wobbly, and an owner has just signed the disclosure but they haven't actually seen the property, then the liability falls back onto the owner with the insurance, and the insurance claim will be denied, and the owner is then liable for all the costs. So this is where it's changed. And now that the government has changed the legislation again, saying that all properties must meet minimum rental standards before it's advertised, owners have to ensure that it meets with rental minimum standards. So that's where it's changed. It's still not mandatory to get somebody else to do the check. But if you get a licensed tradesperson like ourselves, the liability is then taken away from the owner, it's taken away from the property manager, and it comes to us. That's why we have insurance.
Yep.
That's why our insurance is so high.
How great is that? Nicky and the company, Power Band, taking your stress to themselves.
That's right? Exactly right. And trust me, I feel it. I actually do.
Yeah.
I check every single failed minimum rental standard check before it leaves our office.
Yeah. Because now something goes wrong and the rental provider's insurance company deny the claim.
Correct.
They can come
They
to
can
you.
come to us. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why we have insurance.
And also if the consumer affairs renting task force,
Yes.
if they do happen to go there, maybe somebody dobbed them in or whatever we call it, right?
Yep.
And they could go there and, okay, we're issuing you a fine. Now they can say, well, Power Band has given the certificate. They said,
Yep.
then you guys have to cooperate.
That's
So
right.
which is a good thing. I mean, I would get that.
I
from
would do
your
it
company.
in a heartbeat. I mean, I know at my old agency where I was working last before I came in to do this business, is I was getting a company to do my minimum rental standard checks because I didn't want the liability falling back onto me as a licensed estate agent, because I'm still a licensed estate agent. And I also didn't want it to fall back onto my company or my team. So one of our instructions was to have our owners get the minimum rental standards check done, because it was too risky not to. So for an owner to sign off on a disclosure, it's too risky. Yes, they can, but why take the risk? I mean, our check, if we're out there doing something else, it's $149.
That's right.
Like it's stupidly cheap to do it. So while we're at the property and we're doing a smoke alarm or a gas check, we do the minimum rental standards at the same time. And it's $149.
$149. But Nicky, that is the checks, right? But then there are other things need to be done.
Yep.
They have to pay and get those things done.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I tell my rental providers. Look, they will come, they will assess your property, right? They go through everything, and when they for that they charge you this $149 or whatever set amount. However, if there are things need to be done, it's just like the road of the cars, right?
I just got mine done. You don't want to know how much that cost me.
That's right.
My goodness.
For them to write the certificate is one price, but they're going to say, look, your car doesn't have brake pads, it's going to cost you this much. If you want to put your car on the road, you have to pay. Now,
correct.
which one is more expensive most of the time, car or the houses? So you have the highest valuable thing, and now you are putting on the market.
That's right. It's your biggest asset. It's your biggest asset.
Well, always, I think one of the most biggest assets. So I think it's very worth to do it. So with this minimum rental standard, right? What are the most significant ones that you think maybe landlords should be careful if they're trying to do it themselves, right? Because there are certain things, I think, carbon monoxide, because I'm not that educated about those small components about it. What about?
Well, with the minimum rental standard check, obviously you've got your gas, smoke and electrical, right? Your gas must be done by a licensed gas fitter. So we don't have to worry about that. The owners don't have to worry about doing their gas checks. Smoke alarm now also must be done by a legally or suitably qualified tradesperson. So owners don't have to do that anymore. The electrical checks, no, they can't check an electrical check. So that has to be done by a licensed electrician, right? So you've got those three. We covered that off. But when it comes to the minimum rental standards, what an owner may not know is what the shower head is. Is it a 2-star, a 1-star, or a 3-star? It needs to be a minimum of a 3-star. They might not know that the mould that's on the windowsill is not from structural problems. So when you look and you drill down the minimum rental standards, they all have a set point where they must meet. And what I mean by that is mould or damp must come from structural issues, not a ventilation issue. So an owner might not know that. An owner might not know whether the property is structurally sound or not. And structurally sound comes to being weatherproof. Can any weather get in? They might not understand the locks on their front door because they're quite specific when it comes to terminology in the Act. They might not know whether or not there is appropriate lighting. So they might not know if there's artificial lighting that is coming from obviously electrical lights, or whether there's borrowed light coming from the windows. So they may not know that information, whereas our trained technicians know exactly what they're looking for. And I think the biggest minimum rental standard that has changed, obviously, this year, being that the corded blinds. So you now need to have safety anchors on all corded blinds that are 1600 mils or lower and form a loop of more than 220 mils and need to have a tension force of 70 newtons. Now you tell me what owner's going to know that. See? And that's exactly what I was saying.
I've been in this business and I got no idea. It sounds like French.
It is absolutely, when you read the legislation, sometimes it is a different world. And I've read way more legislation in the last year and a half, 2 years of running this business than I ever did in property management, because I actually have time to do it now, which is hilarious.
That's right, yeah. Absolutely.
But that's where I want to impart my knowledge of property managers.
That's right, because we do not have, honestly,
you don't have the time.
I'm slightly involved with the property management as well, but I can see how Jessica get engrossed with her work. And sometimes, like, we work here till 7 o'clock in the night, following up things, maintenance and things like that. There's no way a property manager can look into these type of things.
No.
And even an ordinary person to go to their properties to do these MRS checks, like whatever you right now water, like those, I don't know,
and the 70 newtons. Tension of 70 newtons.
How do you even measure those kind of things?
Look, our guys obviously have tape measures and they have strength tensions and all that sort of stuff when they're going to attach the safety anchors. But the way I put it in layman's terms, and especially when you're doing routine inspections, is if your blind is attached to the wall and you can put more than 2 hands through and pull it off against the wall and it's coming off, well, then that's too loose. It needs to be firmly attached to the wall when all you can get in there is your hand to grab it and then open it or close it. It can't be any more than that, because the whole reason this was brought in is because a child was strangled in one of the cords. So that's why it needs to have a specific tension force, and it needs to be from a certain height upwards. It doesn't have to have it, and 1600 mils and lower from the floor must, because it's all about safety of children. So it's knowing what you need to know, what you can and can't get away with when it comes to the corded blind. So whether it's this far from the wall or this far from the wall. If it's this far from the wall, a kid's head's smaller than ours. They could get their head through there. And if they twist their body the wrong way, it could be disastrous. Absolutely. So that's why the corded blinds has been brought in. So yes, an owner can go through the property and tick off a minimum rental standard and tick a disclosure form and go, yep, my property meets with rental minimum standards. I know that the rubbish bins are vermin proof. I know that there's adequate hot and cold water in the bathrooms. I know that there's adequate hot and cold water in the laundry. I know that there is an exhaust fan that is working in the laundry because they might turn it on and they might hear a sound, but is it actually extracting any air? So is it working properly? If you can't see what's under the cover of the exhaust fan vent because it needs to be taken off, and the exhaust fan 9 times out of 10 is covered in dust and it needs to be cleaned. It's not going to work effectively otherwise. So what's the point in having it? So these are some of the things that we check when we do our minimum rental standard check, that property managers aren't going to climb on a ladder to check it. Owners aren't going to climb on a ladder to check it either. So get a professional to do it. So they look at all of these things and make sure.
Yeah. So by heart, you can tell all the requirements of an MRS?
I can.
Let's go through all of them. Let's see how many.
Oh, God. All right. Now we're going to count them. So electrical safety,
Yeah.
bathrooms,
Okay.
kitchens, laundries, lighting, quarter blind safety anchors, windows, window coverings, locks, vermin-proof rubbish bins. Come on, I've got 5 more to go. Mould, structural soundness. Did I say ventilation? I don't think I did. Ventilation. Oh, gosh, I've got 2 more. I'm almost there. Where am I up to? No.
Natural sunlight?
No, I did lighting. Lighting. And
Something to do with the carbon monoxide?
well, that just comes with the gas check.
Okay.
The CO comes with the gas check. I can't even think of the 5th one.
So many.
There are so many. There are so many that you need to know about, and you need to know each section of it because the Act is very definitive. It's like, this is the way it needs to be. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be difficult to get your property to meet with rental minimum standards. And this is where I think owners are scared of having the check done because they're like, well, my property doesn't meet it. Like, well, it probably does because a bathroom only needs to have adequate supply of hot and cold running water, a basin, and a shower or a bath, right? It also has to have the shower head of a rating minimum 3-star. They can have 4-star. But that's it. That's all a bathroom has to have. Okay, a laundry only has to have an adequate supply of hot and cold running water. That's it. No trough.
Right.
Because it doesn't, that's not a minimum standard. It's not that trough. As long as it's got an adequate supply of hot and cold running water. So there are little ways that you can have a look at what the terminology is behind the minimum rental standard and go, well, how can I get my property to meet it? So heating is the other one that I missed.
Heating.
Yeah. So your heaters must be, a 2-star or above now in the main living area. So that's one that always needs to be looked at. Does an owner know what heating it is?
Wow.
Do they know if it's 2-star, 1-star, 3-star? Is it a wall panel heater? Is it fixed to the wall? Because it also can't be, this is where a lot of property managers get tripped up. It can't be a heater that was designed or manufactured to be portable. It must be a fixed heater. So it's got to be fixed to the wall, and then it also must have its own circuit running back to the switchboard. So it can't be fixed to the wall and plugged into a PowerPoint.
Has to go through the wall, underneath the wall.
It's got to be. It's got to go back to the switchboard.
Switchboard. Wow.
So there.
I was living in a property that had that external power cord to put. I can say remember a long time ago. But now those are not meeting the MRS?
They don't meet minimum rental standards, and they need to be over 1800 watts, I think it is as well, kilowatts. And if it's not, then it needs to be replaced. So back in, and I'm at fault for this as well because I didn't know. So back in 2021, when all the gas heaters, all the wall furnaces and the space heaters were getting capped off and decommissioned, safety check providers were recommending, we'll go to Bunnings, we'll grab one of the panel heaters and we'll fix it to the wall. And that'll be fine, that'll be heating. And now, when I'm going back through some of these properties, and some of them might have been ones that I even managed, and I'm now going, that heater no longer passes minimum rental standards, and it actually didn't pass minimum rental standards at the start because other companies weren't aware of what the legislation actually states, that it must be 2-star or above, cannot be one that was deemed to be portable or manufactured to be portable.
Had to be that fixed heater to the wall, and all the wirings need to go behind the wall to a switchboard, otherwise not.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, it's not just a functional. I think they are looking for more safety as well, not to have anything.
Absolutely, yeah. Because what happens then if that heater that's plugged into just the power point is then faulty, it'll trip all the power, not just that.
See, now the next question, like I have these rental providers. They're not in my company, simply because they do everything themselves. Right? They manage the whole property. They are the property managers, and so people like them, how easily are they going to get into this type of a situation where that one day renting task force get a call? Because what I tell people is, be careful. Everyone is your friend until they get hurt.
Yes.
Then only they call the consumer affairs.
Yeah.
And then when they come, and when they check, because they think they can get away. Tell me that. Can they get away from doing the safety compliance or these MRS because they manage it themselves? Put in somebody that they know. That's what they think. Oh, I know these people. They're my community people. They're like my cousin. They are my brothers.
As soon as something happens to those people, those renters that are living in that property, if they are living in anything less than a bare minimum rental standard, according to the Residential Tenancies Regulations 2021, they will turn on that owner so fast, and he'll be in VCAT, and he will be up for huge fines. It's $11,800 for an owner.
And let's say like they manage their property by themselves, right? And did not employ any of these companies to get all this done, right?
Yeah.
If their property get burned down,
they will not have any insurance.
That's what it is. Not only that. How about if somebody got injured? Even let's say their people are loyal to them.
So they will be charged as criminally negligent under Section 5 of the Act.
Wow.
So not only do they get fined,
you hear
they're
that, guys?
also charged. Section 5 of the Act, criminally negligent, which a property manager can also be found to be criminally negligent if it's not done right. If a property manager is managing a property that doesn't meet rental minimum standards.
This is why with our company, I am putting such effort and good focus into this area of the property management because we don't want that.
No, nobody wants that.
I really do not want clients who wants cheap but not the quality, because they live with expecting luck all this to be on their side.
Yep.
Because luck can change. It could be there for a little while.
Yep.
See, the other thing now, I'm going to go through, because I got these written questions to ask you. Now, I'm going to take one of these questions. Impact of non-compliance. We just talked about it. That's Section 5. That's very important. And then we have the penalties. I like to hear this one. One of the case studies from experience. Could you share a specific example from your work where addressing minimum standards help mitigate insurance risk?
Oh man, how many do you want?
Let's do one.
We're literally dealing with one as we speak right now.
Oh really?
So I had a property manager call me last night. And in all fairness, he's right. He was right to have called me. It's 5:15 and I finished at 5 o'clock, but I'm always on my phone and able to help. And he's like, Nick, our renters have just complained that the oven is protruding too far from the cavity. It's not retaining heat, but it's getting hot enough, and their young child is walking into the oven and hurting themselves. And I'm like, right, well, we actually did the minimum rental standard checks back in December. So we've done the gas, electric and smoke alarms. So we know the property, which was gold. I was able to pull up all the past photos and go, well, it was compliant back in December. So I don't know what's happened between December and now, whether the renters potentially pulled the oven forward or whatnot. Anyway, we have dropped everything and we're sending our gas plumber out. It's an a gas cooktop. And from there, we need to make sure that oven is, one, working because it's an urgent maintenance. Mm-hmm. Two, that it's not too far out from the cabinetry, that it is within the legal requirements. Mm-hmm. And three, that it's not going to burn the child. So that is right there, minimum rental standards. You've got a safety risk, you've got an oven that's not working, and you've got a renter who's very unhappy. So we drop everything, we move our scheduled jobs around, and we get somebody out there. It's actually an hour and a half from the office, but we get somebody out there to get it sorted within the next 48 hours, because if it's not sorted, it's not going to meet with rental minimum standards. And then the renter could potentially take that matter to Consumer Affairs or VCAT and complain that there is now a safety risk. So that is a very real case that is literally happening as we speak. So, yeah, but there's been lots of others. I mean, we do the minimum rental standard check and or the gas safety checks or whatever it might be. And if there is a problem, so if we see a problem that's big enough to warrant just calling the property manager from site. So, for example, we've also done a gas check at the same time and we've had to cap the gas heater off because it's leaking carbon monoxide. Right? So that forms part of the minimum rental standard. We'll call the property manager from site. You've even had us do this to you. I've called you, God knows what time it was at night, and I'm sorry to ring you so late.
But it's one thing with me, I'm like you, I don't mind anyone calling.
Yeah.
And when it comes, because I run a business, so
that's right.
We're not like an employee,
Correct.
If there is a problem,
you need to fix it.
In a very deep sleep or I could not get hold on to my phone, I will answer.
Yeah. So, and we dealt with it. You had quotes the same day, reports the same day, and bang, there you go, it's fixed. So no more gas leak, no more ducted heater that's not working. We either replace it or we sort it out, whatever needs to be done. But carbon monoxide is one of the biggest problems because it's a silent killer. And that's why the gas checks have to be done and all the checks are part of the minimum rental standards, because if it doesn't pass any of those rectifications, doesn't pass minimum rental standards. So when I look at the MRS, I look at the property as a whole and I go, has it passed electrical safety? Has it passed smoke alarm safety? Has it passed gas safety? Right, now let's look at everything else. So all the structural soundness. So we did have another property where, it doesn't technically fail the minimum rental standard. See, we had a property where there's this old wobbly garage and all that was left was the frame, right? So there was no sides, no walls, no roof, just the frame. And when you touch the frame, it moved backwards and forwards. So if
This is the garage.
So if a kid had gone up to the garage and wobbled it, like an outdoor carport it would have been, then that would have been dangerous, could have fallen on the child. And that, whilst that is not a part of rental minimum standards, it was still a safety risk. So our property passed structural soundness, but there was a recommendation for an urgent repair to remove the eyesore of the carport railings that were left because it was dangerous. So there are other aspects that we look at that we go, all right, well, whilst this isn't going to fail the minimum rental standard because the structural soundness is only if weather is going to get into the property or if it's structurally unsound. It's not if you've got a rickety old carport. That's just a maintenance danger. So there's other ways that we look at it. And that's just a few.
Wow, and you have many.
We get them every day.
Now, next one, which is catching my eye, which is, what trends do you see emerging in property management regarding rental standards and insurance?
Well, that's not emerging, that's emerged. That's here. That's been hit with a square in the face right now. And that's where insurance companies have been quite tricky, and they haven't told anyone that their policies have changed. Now, where I think this is going to go is this will end up making minimum rental standard checks mandatory. Because if the insurance companies are starting to deny claims because the property doesn't meet with rental minimum standards, the renters have better access to consumer affairs and the director to be able to say, my property doesn't meet rental minimum standards, and complain. And then minimum standards and the safety checks are now classified as urgent maintenance. So that needs to be fixed and rectified, or there are going to be major fines issued. People will be found to be criminally negligent. Someone will end up being killed, unfortunately probably a renter, because they're living in a dangerous environment, or hurt. So that's what's going to come. So I think down the line, and probably sooner than the end of the year, I don't think it's going to be long before minimum rental standard checks will become compulsory.
I think so too. See, do you have any incidents where insurance has denied the claim because of MRS wasn't done?
Yeah. Smoke alarms. Smoke alarms is a good one. If you've got faulty smoke alarms and the fire department can prove that that faulty smoke alarm was the reason that the renters got hurt or whatever might have happened, then the renters can take the owner personally and have the owner personally liable, because the insurance company will go, I'm sorry, your smoke alarm was faulty. It didn't alert the renters. They've now been burnt or hurt or whatever it might be. Yeah. But there's also other issues where there's been a water leak. So there's been cracked tiles behind a bathroom. Now, while a cracked tile will not fail the rental minimum standard check, if there's no dampness when we're there doing the check, we pass it with recommendations that the cracked tiles are repaired. So if you've got cracked tiles and the water is leaking behind the tiles into the walls, and it's proven that you know about it and leave it, insurance company won't pay to fix it. So that water is going to go into the walls, go into the floor. It'll soak through your skirting boards and your carpets and whatever your flooring is, whether it be floating boards or carpet or chipboard, whatever it might be. And then that's a huge cost. Your plaster's going to need to be cut and replaced, and you've got to fix the walls. You've got to completely pull the shower apart and have all of that, refixed, retiled, regrouted, new base, whatever needs to be done. It could be into the thousands and thousands of dollars. If the insurance company can find that you were negligent or the owner was negligent of not maintaining it, then they won't have any insurance and they'll have to foot the bill themselves.
Mm-hmm. So when you're conducting these safety compliance and MRS, let's say one of your allocated tradesperson see one of this unsafety, right? They identify. So they're going to rectify it pretty swiftly, or you just, I can remember once because you called me and you said there's a gas problem, and I said, do I need to gain the consent from my owner? And you goes like,
no, we're doing it.
No, we have to do it.
Correct.
So I like to dig into it.
Yeah.
So what kind of actually I now deviated from what I was actually going to ask you, but that's the important one. So what kind of unsafety things that you need to quickly attend? Yeah. Irrespective to
regardless of whether the
renters,
so anything that relates to a gas leak, any sort of gas leak. Yeah. All right. So we've got two options that we can do. We either cap off the gas, like if it's easy, like if we've sort of pinpointed where the gas leak is, and let's say the gas leak is coming from the ducted heater, right? We can cap the gas off to the ducted heater. No more gas leak, fine. The renter still has use of their gas stove, their gas heating, for example. But if we can't find the gas leak, we have to cap the gas off to the entire house, irrespective of whether we get permission, because it is too dangerous to leave. It'll either kill the renters because you're carbon monoxide leaking, or will blow up if somebody wants to go and smoke outside where the gas leak is and flick their embers off. So when it comes to severe things like that, we have to fix it. When it comes to a gas leak that's coming from the piping and we can see where it is, so we've done the safety check and we've checked where we think the leak might be from, and we've found it fairly easily, we'll give you a call and go, hey, we're going to fix it. It's going to be ballpark figure $200-300. We're not actually going to wait for the owner to get back to us because it needs to be done right now, or because I can't cap the heater off, or I can't cap the stove off, because this pipe in particular is actually serving everything. We either cut the mains off and the renters have no gas, or we fix this right here, right now. But if we have to come back, it'll be a couple of days and the renter will have no gas for a couple of days.
That's right. Now we actually led to the first question I was going to ask you, to the initial question. So how swiftly you have to rectify the issues if there are safety and all these kind of things once you identify it?
Yes.
Is a certain time period?
Yes.
And do you have tradespeople available to get them done so quickly?
Yes, we have to. We literally have to cut whatever we're doing for the rest of the day off if there is something like a gas leak, right? So a gas leak or a switchboard fault, right? That's not an electrical fault. If there is something that is dangerous, we cannot leave the property. We legally cannot leave the property until we have fixed it and resolved it. And if that means the rest of the day, every other job that's booked in for the rest of the day is then cancelled and rescheduled, well, then that has to be done. Because we legally cannot leave an unsafe property, whether it's electrical, water, smoke, or gas. So they're the main ones that we cannot leave if we find something that's deemed to be dangerous.
Right.
You can have
tradespeople to get them done.
Yes, always. Well, the guys that do the checks are licensed. They have to be. They have to be licensed so that they can see these and fix them on the spot. That's why the legislation has changed and said you must have licensed technicians or licensed tradespeople to do the checks. You can't have your apprentices out there doing it.
Yeah.
Because they don't know.
Correct.
They don't know.
That's right. See, Nicky, I have so many other questions, but the problem with the timing, right? So you covered so much. So I think we gave our viewers enough elaboration about many parts of the MRS, and I think this is important. First of all, I was a bit annoyed when this was implemented by the government, but in retrospect, when I think about some of the properties problems that we had to face, because our owners acted like plumbers and electricians.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
There were cases like gas smell and things were coming, and then when we sent licensed plumbers, they said like this property was just about to like blast like a bomb, if somebody lit something up.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
this is why I'm very, very happy this came in, and I'm very happy today you came to office and you gave this abundance of knowledge to me.
You're welcome.
And for all the viewers as well. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nicky, for coming.
It's been my pleasure.
This, your knowledge to all of us.
Well, all I want to do is be able to impart what I know on property managers and estate agents so that they know what they know, because you don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
You don't know what you don't know. So thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
You are welcome. Thank you so much, Nicky. Thank you so much for listening, guys. So we're ending this podcast with Nicky, and of course, if you have a rental property now, you are thinking what you should do when it comes to MRS and the safety compliance. Well, if it is a property under our company, obviously I'm recommending Power Band, Nikki to go and have a look and conduct the correct procedures to get the property compliant and also get the certified
Reports.
minimum rental
Done.
standard report.
Yes, get
Yeah.
all the reports.
That's right.
Yeah.
Before you go, do you want to tell your details of your company?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Lushan. I'm Nicky Talbot from Power Band Electrical, and you can contact me via our email, which is my email is NICKY for Nicky at powerbandelectrical.com.au, or my number is 0409 417 234. Check out our websites as well, powerbandelectrical.com.au. Have a look. I'm also developing some pretty damn awesome agent knowledge portals, which I'll show you after this. You're going to love it. And you've got a portal that you'll be able to have access to as well. Oh, it's just a whole different thing that we're doing in the background to make the lives of property managers easier.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Nikki.
Thanks, Lushan.
Thanks. Bye for now.